What's going on, Limitless Legion? Got an educational reaction video for us today, guys. I actually have not seen any of it, so we're going to get right into it, but it's titled, Why the New Generation of Men Are Soft and How to Fix It. So, that's right up our alley. So we're going to have fun with this today, but just wanted to give that context first. But let's just get right into it, shall we?
Financially independent. They're still living at home with their parents. They're totally shielded from hardship. They don't even know how to cook their own food. They're overly sensitive. They want to cancel everything. They don't even know how to hold a conversation. Seriously, they text each other in the same room. When I said soft, I also meant soft literally. Statistically, they're the most obese generation ever. In fact, I think these quotes sum it up. All they love is luxury. They've got bad manners and contempt for authority. Younger generations are soft compared to the warriors of the past. Now, looking at those quotes, it wouldn't be a bad guess if you thought I pulled them from Reddit or the comment section here on YouTube. But the reality is those quotes are about 2,500 years old. Seriously, those quotes are from old Socrates and Juvenal. Now, I highlight this because I want to make an important point. This video is not about bashing modern men. In fact, I'm going to argue that modern men are relatively tough, and that as a generation, they're facing challenges I'm happy I didn't have to face at their age. Now, the real point of this video is to share with you an insight that I had the other day at a party as I was talking with a group of parents about how easy or difficult, depending on who you spoke to, this modern generation had it. Now, before I share with you my arguments why I think this generation has it tougher than most and why I think they're doing a great job, I want to first address the elephant in the room, and that is, why is it so common for one generation to bash another? Specifically, throughout history, the older generation usually bashing the younger generations. And to prove my point, here are...
Guys, I love that he brought that point up about really that pattern that he recognized. And you guys know I mention that a lot on my channel about how important pattern recognition is. And what he's saying is basically there's nothing new under the sun. Every generation bashes the other generation and basically calls the new generation degenerates, and they had it right. When really just the world keeps moving and you're really just uncomfortable with the new transitions that have become, and as opposed to adapt and evolve, you're still basically just clinging on to the past. So I think that's what he's saying here. And I also like how he differentiated the fact that it's not that it's really, what he's saying is that it's actually harder for modern men. But I would just say each time, right, has its particular challenges, and the challenges are going to be unique. So I would argue that we have our own set of pros and we have our own set of cons, just like any time of people at any point, right? So let's finish hearing them out. But that's what I took away. It's already pretty insightful.
Are a series of quotes over thousands of years. Yes, again and again. What are we seeing? Generation after generation after generation. Going back 1,000 years, going back 500 years, going back 50 years, going back 2,000 years. We see that every older generation is bashing the younger up-and-coming men for doing things that they deem to be immoral, irreverent, and almost always incredibly lazy. So why do older generations tend to bash the younger crowd? First up,
the bloat, the fog, slow metabolism. Is this just how it is?
Nostalgia bias. This is when you romanticize your youth. You focus on hardships as character building exercises. Now, the problem with this bias is it skews comparisons between what is happening now and what happened in, that rosy past. I saw this all the time in the Marine Corps. You talk to the guys that have 10, 15 years, they're like, talking about the old Corps somehow wasn't nearly as tough. Now, for anyone that served, in my opinion, in general, that's a bunch of BS. Yeah, you've got exceptional generations like the guys that served in WW2, but overall, in my experience, when guys were called up, when they were put in combat situations, I saw it firsthand. I saw men and women step up and do what needs to get done. And it didn't matter if they had joined in the 80s, the 90s, or 2010. If a person has the core values of honor, courage, and commitment, it doesn't matter if they're Gen Z or Gen X, if they've got my back, I'm cool with that. Next up, we've got the perceived decline of values. And for a lot of people, this one seems real. It does seem the younger generation doesn't have the same work ethic and they don't have the same respect for authority. However, when you look at this issue and you see it's being brought up for thousands of years, you actually see just simply the values are shifting. I'll tell you one thing I think I've noticed with this younger generation. It's not that they don't have a work ethic. It's they're actually looking for a challenge and they want to be motivated. They don't want to blindly follow bad leadership right into the ground.
I would agree with that as well. And here's what I'll say also. It's kind of like what he mentioned. Values have shifted, right? I think the old way of thinking was that basically you work a job that you don't like, right? And that's just a part of being a man. That's just a part of, contributing to society. But I think the younger generation of today, we seek more meaning. And it does stem from a lot of places. It could stem from a place of like what the older generation believes of just being self-centered, but it can also stem from a place of just really wanting to contribute in a way that you value. So I see both sides of the spectrum there, and I don't think either are wrong. But let's continue.
Now, really quick, gents, I want to introduce you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Now, gents, in case you didn't know, BetterHelp is the world's largest online. BetterHelp makes it easier. Now, the way it works is you go to their health and your needs. You can message them at any time, just at no.com/RMRS to make sure you're able to do their work, and they think it's going to make them stupid. In a way, I sort of agree with this, and I logical divide. Now, younger generations, they see people using ChatGPT and all this AI to be able to do their work, and they think it's going to make them stupid. In a way, I sort of agree with this, and I do think TikTok and short form videos have not done much for the intellectual abilities of most. However, the same arguments were made when washing machines came out. Or maybe a better example is the calculator. I mean, you need to be able to do all that stuff by hand. If you're relying on a calculator, you aren't going anywhere, they said. Now, the dangerous part here is that there is an illusion of truth. You can selectively take some statistics, and you can clearly show that the use of calculators, or now the use of AI, is making people dumber. I mean, the data is pretty clear that this latest generation is physically soft. They are more overweight than any generation before them, and so it would probably be better if they were moving. Maybe they had jobs that didn't have them sitting in front of a computer all day. Now, I can't argue with those facts, but what I can bring to your attention is the fact that statistics now are used as a tool of persuasion, not a tool for figuring out what is the truth. By that, I mean, if you've got a belief, you're going to fall oftentimes into confirmation bias. You are going to go out there and look for facts that confirm what you believe. And the internet makes this incredibly easy. If you want to...
Let's talk about the ChatGPT for a second, because I do think it is a double-sided coin, right? ChatGPT can make you lazy. It can also make you extinct, because it's becoming a great equalizer. If you're still, let's say if before ChatGPT, you were administratively talented and you took a lot of pride in being administratively talented, but now someone who wasn't as administratively talented, right? You took pride in being able to craft a perfect email. But now anybody can go and craft an email using ChatGPT. And if you still choose to stick with that identity, that ego, and you don't evolve with the times, then you're working backwards. And now somebody who was worse than you can now come in and outshine you. Because how are you going to be more administratively talented than AI? So, I think I feel like AI is neutral. Right? It can become something that actually pushes you farther back into the world, and it can also be something that propels you further into the world. It's just going to come down to how you use it and how you interpret it. So that's my opinion on that.
To believe that the earth is flat. You can type in, yes, you'll find a lot of stuff that is showing you it's not, but there's probably something out there that will substantiate what you want to believe, even when it's something crazy. Hence why we get all these crazy conspiracy theories. And yes, I know some of them are true, such as that God speaks to us through Creed Aventus. But seriously, if you understand statistics, you understand that you can always find some truth in numbers, and that by quoting out of context, using small sample sizes, or not understanding the difference between correlation and causation, which, in case if you don't know, correlation is when two things happen at about the same time, but one of them does not cause the other. Example being during the summer, we see more shark attacks and more ice cream sales, which, if it's not obvious, ice cream does not cause shark attacks. If it did, that would be causation, which, if you wanted an example of that, we could have taxi usage and rainstorms. And if you've ever been in New York City in a rainstorm, you know that it's almost impossible to get a taxi because rainstorms cause usage to go up. My point in all this, though, is that most people don't understand statistics. And in a world where you've got marketers, and I admit I am one of them, that know how to use this to actually be able to influence people, we often see people using numbers to be able to create stories, drama, conflict, where there actually isn't any. And Jeds, that's a really important point, which I'm going to get back to here in a minute, but let's talk about this latest new modern generation.
All right, face it. Your life is a complete mess right now. The laundry's not folded.
I'm gonna be real, y'all. He lost me there, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the wheel because this isn't going where I expected it to go. This isn't the style I was expecting to hear as far as why the modern generation is going weaker. You know, he's very technical, I can see. And when things get too complex, guys, I just like to simplify. I never feel like it's ever really that complex. So I'm gonna take the wheel here. I'm gonna tell you why I think that a lot of modern guys are getting soft. And we're going to keep it simple because it's been running long already. I think it really just comes down to there's more distractions. We just have more things fighting for our time. And also, that's a good question. Why are we getting soft? I mean, it's, like I said, it's definitely going to be the distractions. I think for a lot of men, we've kind of been displaced as well. And there's a lot of confusion in what it is to be a man, what it is to be masculine. And again, when things get too complex, I like to simplify. And I think we had it right from the beginning. Also, whenever you are feeling misguided, it always works to just look at nature, right? What's natural? What's been natural since the beginning of time? And what intersects no matter where you are, no matter what time you were in? What is the common denominator? And when you look at those things, then that can be your guiding star. So we don't have to complicate this. We simply lack purpose. We simply lack singularity of purpose. And a lot of things are corrected through purpose. So what does that mean? That just means we have to find our why. If you don't have a why, then that needs to be your purpose. That needs to be your why. So we start there. And ultimately, we start with a decision. Decide on what you want to do. And guess what? When you decide, you go all in on it, and you be forgiven if, as you continue to explore it out, you eventually find that that isn't really what you want to do. Then your job, again, is to find the next thing. But it's that simple. You got to explore, you got to live, you got to try things, and you have to get experiences. And you have to always be searching for your purpose, and your purpose will change. As I just said, my purpose at one age wasn't my purpose at another age, isn't my purpose now. So that's where it ultimately comes down to. It comes down to being on your mission. And I think that a lot of modern men are weaker now because they just don't have a mission. And they're lost. They're confused. So that's my opinion. He was going all over the place with it, statistics and ChatGPT. I don't think, we have to even look that far. I think it's really a lot simpler. But guys, I appreciate the support. Like the video. Also, subscribe if you want to join the Limitless Legion. And I started the Patreon now, so go join the Patreon. It's divineXunbound on all platforms if you didn't know. And also, if you want to support the channel a step further, then the Cash App is linked in the description. But until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.